Ready to begin. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Henry Wadsworth Longfellow once said, "It takes less time to do a thing right than to explain why you did it wrong." Let's pray. Most gracious Father, we thank you tonight for the opportunity to gather to conduct the business of this community. We pray your blessings on this meeting and those who are in attendance. For Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Mary. Could we have roll call, please?
Michael, there should be a switch over there.
Sounds like you got it now. Thumbs
Got
up.
it.
Yeah, thumbs up.
Good.
Good evening, my name is Mary Card, I live at 631 Bath Drive, and,
Excuse me, Mary, pull the mic to you so we can hear you.
and I have a question on whether or not we have any kind of an ordinance as far as, I know this sounds kind of weird, but trees. We have a neighbor that has these really huge redwood trees behind us, and I'm really concerned with roots. We have a pool, and these huge trees are growing, and they're losing a lot of the redwood, the pines or whatever.
The bark
kind of
or the
thing.
needles?
Needles.
It's making it's a real nuisance because it falls in our yard, in our pool, and the roots are our main concern, is the damage that they can cause to our pool, to our pump, to all of our fixtures that go along with our pool. And our neighbor has a pool, and we just had that neighbor behind her just planted some. So I'm wondering if there's any kind of an ordinance that says anything about trees that can be a limitation as far as how big they can be planted, what size, what. Eventually, these roots are gonna not only our pool, but foundations that are close to the proximity of these trees. So that is my question.
Well, redwood trees usually have pretty deep roots, and they don't usually spread out super far like an oak tree or some of those other things, based on that, to the best of my knowledge. So the roots shouldn't be such an issue. Obviously, the nuisance of the needles and that would be very, very, I can understand that nuisance. I don't know of anything that's out there for that.
Council, we do not, in this particular case that Ms. Carter is describing, is more of a civil matter between two property owners. It's, so we don't really have ordinances that will pertain to the trees that you're talking about. Most of the trees that our tree ordinances are more public safety. They're not blocking intersections, they're not blocking stop signs or issues like that. So, the issue you're describing, Ms. Carter, is more of a civil matter between two private property owners. And redwood trees just do not like the west side. They'll grow well for the first decade or so, but then the salt will take over and it'll start killing them off.
Yeah, see, and that's what's happening. That's why we're getting all the mess.
Have you been able to talk with your neighbor in reference to the issue? Let me
We haven't approached.
Yeah, let me encourage you to maybe just speak with him civilly, in terms of, the problem and what you're faced with, and see how that comes out. And just like City Manager Mike was saying, it's more or less a issue between two neighbors. And sometimes, I think if you just talk, maybe you can hash out this issue. If not, it's more or less a civil thing to where you may have to, look in terms of maybe going into the court.
Anyway, thank you for coming forward tonight. I'm sorry that, this is not the right venue for presenting your problem. But thank you.
All right, thank you.
We understand.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, council members and attendees of the meeting. My name is Debbie Allen, and I live at 1520 S Street here in town. I really wanted to talk to you about Measure S. I'm the campaign coordinator for it here in town, so all those signs lawn signs and stuff that you see, they're in my garage. So if anybody would like one, my phone number's here is available here. And I would be glad to give you, I still have about half a dozen left. And I just wanted to say, please take the time to encourage your friends and family to vote if they're registered voters. If not, the library has forms that they can go and get and mail in, and I think it's 2 weeks before the election if they're not registered or if they've just moved in or something. And because I think out here, there's nothing else on it. So it tends to like be, oh, well, you know, it's only that. There's no, you know, mayor's race or anything like that. So please take the time to send them in. There's a high percentage of mail voters here. And so encourage your neighbors to do that. You'll see us out walking around. We're going to finish up out in Sherman Park area over the weekend. And but if anybody has any questions or wants to any information, they're welcome to call my house, and I will get back to them. And I want to thank everybody for supporting the library. I was an employee there for 20 years. And the funny part was I actually went down and voted for the original one in 1995. And then 18 months later, I had a job there.
See, it pays to
So you never know
vote.
what'll come out of voting. Anyway, thank you so much, and let you get back to your business.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Debbie.
Anyone else in the audience would like to speak to the council? Golden opportunity. There being none, we're moving on to the consent calendar. A, waive all readings of ordinance and resolutions except by title. B, approval of warrants. C, approval of minutes of the September 12, 2017 meeting. D, adopt resolution number 2017, next number of resolution supporting the extension of the Stanislaus County Library 1/8 cents sales tax, which would fund the Stanislaus County Library.
I move to approve the consent calendar as read.
And I'll second that.
Motion been made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried 5-0. Thank you very much. Number 9 is a public hearing. A, adopt resolution number 2017, next number, upholding the Planning Commission's decision to deny variances number 2017-01.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Before you is an appeal of the Planning Commission's decision to deny variance 1701. Variance 1701 requested that the patio cover be approved, measuring 13 feet 9.5 inches tall, where the code states a maximum height of 12 feet. The building department contacted the property owner, Mr. Cameron, on June 1st regarding his patio cover. A building permit application was submitted on June 5th. After resubmittals and reviews, it was determined by staff that the patio cover could not be approved as proposed. The applicant notified staff the structure had already been completed and that he would like to pursue a variance. Variance 1701 was heard by the Planning Commission on August 17th. The commission was unable to meet the required findings and voted 4-0 with one abstention to deny the variance. The applicant disagreed with the Planning Commission's decision and inquired about an appeal. Mr. Cameron's formal appeal application was received on August 24th. The applicant, via his variance and appeal applications, expressed his desire to provide shade, extend family living space, create protection from the heat, and add beauty to his property. He stated that the increased height was a result of reinforced construction. The municipal code limits the Planning Commission to consider extenuating circumstances when reviewing a variance. Furthermore, California Government Code states that variances may only be granted when the strict application of the code deprives a property owner of privileges enjoyed by other properties in the same vicinity and the same zoning. Our municipal code requires that 5 findings be made in order to approve a variance. In their decision, the Planning Commission reviewed and agreed that the proposed variance did not meet said findings. Those findings include: would the proposal formally grant a special privilege? Is the proposal detrimental to public health and safety? Does the proposal impair the purposes of the municipal code and the general plan? Does the proposal have special circumstances that the code requirements would deprive the property owner of privileges enjoyed by others? And is the proposal compatible with the neighborhood? The City Council does have the ability to utilize discretion when ruling on cases. However, findings must be made. The difference from Planning Commission being that the City Council can consider additional information and draw your own conclusions. Some good questions to ask when determining the variance would be, what is the benefit of the extra height? Is it necessary? Why wasn't a building permit pulled in advance? Will a precedent be set? How will the decision affect future applications for similar structures? And is the variance necessary to address the applicant's stated needs? There may also be an additional unpermitted structure on the property. However, it's not the subject of this variance application and is being looked at separately. In conclusion, the Planning Commission could not make the findings necessary to approve a variance. The applicant has appealed and requested that the City Council grant the variance based on his desire to improve his outdoor space, its minimal visibility and lack of opposition from his neighbors. Given the patio cover's noncompliance with the code, lack of a building permit and other potential violations, and verbal confirmation that there's no intent to lower said structure, staff recommends that the City Council adopt Resolution 2017 next in number, upholding the Planning Commission's decision to deny variance 1701. I'm happy to answer any questions, and the applicant is also here and can be asked questions.
Any questions from the council? If not, this is a public hearing, so I'll open it up to public for any comments. Please, sir, go to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
My name's Ed Cameron, and I live at 1004 Red Lion Court. When I moved to Newman 2.5 years ago, I went to the building department and asked about a patio cover. And they told me at that time, how big of a cover do you, or is it going to be attached, number one, was it going to be attached to the house, and how big? I said, well, I'm not sure how big, but it's going to be freestanding. Well, if it's freestanding, you do not need a permit. I said, okay, fine. 2 years later, I built this thing. And I don't know if you have the pictures and the copy of the report and stuff. Okay. There's a picture in there that wasn't taken by me or anybody in my family that I got back in my packet from the planning department. I took a copy of that down to the planning department, wrote across it saying, please tell me where you got this picture and how, because I didn't take it. And it shows my structure framed, not completed, but framed. And this was probably done back, this picture, my guess is somewhere in April or May. The planning department had this picture, and if they were looking at my structure as being permitted or unpermitted, all they needed to do was go back to the department, check that I did not have a permit, come back out to my house and say, whoa, you need a permit because it exceeds 10 by 12, I think is whatever that is. I said, okay, that would have been fine, and to correct the height. At this point of the picture, and it's the one that's blown up. I've never blown up a picture. At that point, it would have been easy to lower it, but no issues at all. But they waited until after it was completed, actually several weeks after it was completed. They never came and gave me a red tag. They never came and gave me a warning. They came and gave me a piece of paper stating that you have an unpermitted, it's been reported you have an unpermitted structure in your backyard. As soon as I got that, on 1st of June, 5th of June, I went down there, filled out all the paperwork. Explained to them why it was built the way it is, and this picture here you can see, I could have built this thing with 4x4s and 2x4s and made it look like the overhang that's behind me. And part of me, but it looks like a piece of crap. This thing was built because these are 6x12s. Nobody in this town has a 6x12 header beam on a patio cover, but I did. These are 2x8s. Nobody did. This is tongue and groove pine on the roof. Nobody has that stuff. I did. So in the initial construction of it, I wanted to match the pitch of the house, and if you can, there's one in here from the backyard, you can see it matched the pitch of the house. And that's what I was trying to do, to have it blend in to the existing structure. Partially my fault. I probably shouldn't have taken the gentleman's word at it. I should have went down and said, okay, I'm going to build this thing now, but I need a permit. Do I need a permit? And again, being freestanding, any city I've ever lived in, long as you were, and all the other compliances, away from the fence, doesn't exceed square footage on the property. You can barely see it from the street unless you're in the dead end of the cul-de-sac. Checked with all my neighbors, nobody had a complaint. It cut my PG&E bill in half. And in her report, in Stephanie's report, it lists 5 or 6 pros as to why this structure is okay. It meets all the other qualifications. Under each one of those pros, it's the same comment, exceeds height. Well, okay, I understand it exceeds the height. That was my fault, that's my mistake. I paid the fine or the fee to go to the planning commission. I paid the fee to come and talk to you people. And I've been informed that if the permit is granted for the house, for the structure, it's double the normal fee. That's fine, that's my mistake. I don't have any problem paying that, which is an expense of $1,000 when you add it all up. But the structures, again, I'm not asking for a special privilege. I made a mistake. But to take this thing down, and I've had 2 contractors come out and look at this, I'd have to completely dismantle this roof and cover to take it down for 1.5 feet. Now, there are plenty of structures in this town that are a whole lot worse looking and taller than mine. And again, I just find it hard to believe that taking up your time, taking up my time over 1.5 feet. I talked to the building commission in Gilroy, the town that I was from, and their explanation was, as long as you met all the other requirements, you pay twice the building fee as a fine. Don't do it again. Understandably, I don't have any more room to build any more patio covers. But like I said, it cut my PG&E bill in half because it provides shade. We're not used to this valley heat, and the sun in the afternoon, because of the exposure, beats constantly. My PG&E was $460 a month. Now it's barely at $200 since I put the patio cover on it. I understand that financial consideration is not justification for building it. If I hadn't have gone to the 6x12s and used the 4x6s, if I hadn't have gone with the 2x8s and used the 2x4s, if you take all those inches off that I was adding to build it, to maintain the pitch, I probably would be at 12 feet, 4 inches, and I would doubt seriously we'd be here. But I wanted it to build it, I wanted it to last. The 6x6 pillars are sunk into the concrete. I cut a hole in my patio, went down 2 feet, it's in cement. The structure is sound, it's safe, it doesn't present a fire hazard, it doesn't block anybody's view, it's not an eyesore. It's basically a great addition to my house. So basically, that's it. So if anybody has any questions as to what it is, that's all I have.
Is the roof on it tile?
No, I use 50-year shingles on it,
50 years.
but the edges are tiled. Because I wanted to match the I use the
Design.
same corner tiles as the
Right,
house.
okay, that's
all
what I was
across it,
seeing.
right.
And what would, you said you had some contractors out
The last bid I got was $6,000.
to lower it?
Yes. There's no other way to do it.
Because it has to be torn apart?
The roof has to come off, cut the centerpiece out, drop the centerpiece down, and then put a whole new roof back on it. Now, if somebody here would like to lend me $6,000 or give me $6,000 to do that, I'd be more than happy. Okay. My question is, too, is that they had the picture showing it being framed. If I was out of compliance then, they should have told me then, it would have been several $100s to lower the roof. I didn't know I was out of compliance. I didn't. And I didn't know I needed a permit at that time. But I understand you also need some sort of a zoning permit when you build something. I never heard of a zoning permit. So,
If it exceeds 120 square feet, the zoning permit is actually part of the building permit.
okay, but you don't need a building permit if it's under 120 square
No,
feet.
you just need the zoning.
Okay,
permit.
that unpermitted that you referred to is 8.5 by 8.5, 12 feet high. I have a thing right here already filled out to go downstairs to see if I needed to pay the $35 for that, but it's an unpermitted, unattached structure. Doesn't need
That's
a
not
permit.
part of this discussion.
No, but she brought it up.
Oh.
She brought it up, that I have an other unpermitted structure on the property that we will get to later. I just wanted to address it now, save her the time. So, that's all I have to say.
Hey, thank you. If we need to ask additional questions, we'll call you back up.
Okay.
Let me ask this quick question for you, Mr. Cameron. Do you recollect or remember the name of the person you spoke with at City Plan? Did you get those names when you went down and
2
spoke
years
with?
ago, 2.5 years ago? No. I don't
So you had
remember.
no paperwork in reference to
Who I talked
discussing the
to.
matter?
No, because I was there asking the lady that worked in the counter there. And there was a guy that came out of the back, and he chimed in. He just said, "Is it attached to the house?" I said, "No, it's going to be freestanding." He said, "Well, you don't need a permit." He had an armful of papers on it, and he was scurrying off. So that's and that was 2 years ago. So I just, it never processed. Okay, I didn't need a permit. I built one in Patterson, in a house in Patterson, freestanding, didn't need a permit for it. And it was bigger than the one I got now. So it just didn't dawn on me that I would need it. And again, so I didn't. But as soon as I found out about it, I went down the next day and tried to rectify the situation. I'm not trying to skate on anything. But, I mean, if you look at it from my standpoint, if it was your house, I mean, for 1.5 feet, come on, I'm not asking for any special privileges. And if-
I get what you're saying with that, but the issue that I see with that is, you know, if this is something when we approve, next week does somebody build something even bigger and change it and then come in and after not pulling permits and say, well, it's already built, what do I do now? I want it approved. You see what I'm saying? It's
understand
setting
that.
a
So
precedence to keep going
I'm
and
going to
keep
get
going and keep
penalized
going.
because of something that might happen?
Well, it sets a precedence of thing for people to do different things.
A variance
so-
is an individual thing. It's not a city policy. It's not changing the rules and regulations. It's a specific
I understand
issue,
that.
singular, period. Next guy comes in, different story.
But it sets a precedence moving forward that
Not necessarily.
you kind of skip around things if you want to. And I'm not saying that was your intention by any means, but it kind of sets that precedence at the same time. Does that make sense?
If I thought I needed a permit.
I understand
would've
that. I'm not saying that you were trying to skate around it by any means. I'm just saying it sets that precedence that
And I
that could
definitely
be
wouldn't have spent
capable.
$800 to get to this point.
Right.
you know, so.
Any other questions from the council?
In your letter, you indicated that you had talked to your builder. The letter that you sent to the planning commission, or to the planning commission before the first hearing, said you talked to your builder, and then when you filed your application, it was owner-built.
That was not in my, in fact, I should have brought that up. That's not my writing. I don't know who put that on there. On
It's
the
your
original
letter, sir.
application, it says owner built. That's not my handwriting.
No, it's your letter. I beg your
well-
pardon.
I have it here.
Are we talking about the same thing?
I don't know what you're talking about, but this here, it says on this.
City of Newman, dear council members, Ed Cameron, Red Lion Court. It's your letter.
No, I believe you, but on my application, it wasn't highlighted, so I didn't fill it out.
Okay.
And it's
All right.
written in somebody else's handwriting.
The specific letter I'm looking at is dated July 5th, and it's from you to the planning department.
This is look like a personal letter.
Right, okay, I got it.
Oh, is it the one
And-
that's typed?
Yeah, this one here,
It's dated July 5th, 2017.
got it.
And it states, "In discussing the plans for this with my builder,"
Right.
okay? Did you build it, or did you have a contractor build it?
I had a guy, well, I helped build it, and that's why I didn't put anything down here, because it was blank. But I had a Rico Construction, was the guy that I dealt with, and he's the guy that got all the materials, he's the one that did the contract work and whatnot.
But he didn't tell you that you needed an application?
No. Again,
That's quite interesting.
I'd have stopped on the dime, because, again, I don't need to be here You
Is
got
this a
other things to
licensed
do.
contractor?
I don't know. I never asked him.
Yes, he is.
He's not.
The contractor is not licensed?
If he used Rigo, he's not a licensed contractor.
Okay.
Okay, any further questions from the council?
That's great.
Okay, I'm going to bring it back to council for direction.
Ask the public if there's any public comment.
Oh, I'm
other
sorry.
than the applicant.
I'm sorry. Is there any other public comments on this subject tonight? Okay, Mary? Mary, you have to go to the
You have to go to the
podium.
podium, please.
Mary Moore, 1442 Q Street, Newman. If my house probably sits 16 feet off the ground, if I put a patio or a upstairs something, I could not go up that far, and I have been told from the city, when I went to do that on a garage one time, and he gave me all the specs, all the things that I needed, and that's what I had to go by, so it never did get done. Now, if this happens with this, and you let this pass, what about the rest of us people that have let things go because we can't either afford it or it's wrong? Because I know I could build a garage so many feet by so many feet, but I had the cement slab out there, it's still out there, but I could not put a garage on it. So if I just don't think, I think it's got to be the same for everybody, myself. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
After this started, and after the planning commission denied my appeal, or my variance, I asked for some explanation or some definitions of attached to the house and enclosure, because according to the code, if the structure is attached to the house and partially enclosed, it can be as high as the house. So the 13.9 wouldn't matter. So she gave me a copy of a bunch of rules and regs. There's nothing specific that says what determines attached to my house. There's nothing that says it has to be enclosed on 3 sides, but it doesn't say how. To solve this issue, the problem, I'll attach it to the house if somebody will tell me what I need to do that would qualify to attach it to the house. Is that putting 2 2x4s from each end and attaching it to the eaves of my house and putting screens around it? Does that qualify? No answer.
Okay.
I didn't get an answer back on the picture either. But, so if somebody can tell me what it would take for me to attach it to my house and make it legal, that's an option, rather than tearing it down. And I would do that, as long as it doesn't involve tearing it down and putting it back up. But what constitutes attaching it to the house?
So the municipal code identifies that a patio cover, when it's detached, is open on all 4 sides, and when it's attached, it's open on 3 sides. So patio covers are also defined as accessory structures, which have the 12-foot height limit. The attachment that would be able to be as tall as a house is referring to like additions. If you were to be adding living space, for example, like something that is part of the same roof line, or he's doing an add-on to the home like an extra bedroom. That is where that height requirement of 12 feet is not triggered, because it's not an accessory structure. So that's the key point, that it's an accessory structure.
Thank you.
Any further comments from anyone in the audience? There being none, then I'm going to bring it back to council for direction.
I move that we adopt resolution number 2017, next in number, upholding the Planning Commission's decision to deny the variance number 2017-01.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded. Could we have a roll call on this, Michael?
Councilmember Graham,
I might vote against it.
Councilmember McDonald,
I'm going to follow my council member. I'm going to vote against it.
Councilmember Day,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Candia. Mayor Martina.
All right.
We have 3 ayes and 2 noes.
Okay.
The resolution passes.
That's it. 3 with 2 noes, and resolution passed. Thank you. Next item, public hearing B, second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2017, next number, an ordinance adding chapter 4.24, electric vehicle charging station permitting procedures to Title IV, building regulations of the Newman Municipal, and authorizing staff to publish a summary of said ordinance.
Good evening again. Assembly Bill 1236 requires procedures for the streamlining of permitting electric vehicle charging stations. Said streamlined procedures need to be adopted by municipalities under 200,000 in population by September 30th. The proposed ordinance would establish a checklist for EV charging stations expedited reviews. Said checklist will conform with the California Government Office of Planning and Research Guidebook. Applications must also be accepted online, and electronic signatures must be accepted. The first reading of ordinance 2017 next to number was introduced on September 12th. In order to comply with AB 1236, staff recommends that the council hold the public hearing and adopt ordinance 2017 next to number. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Stephanie?
No.
Okay. With that, I'm going to open it up. This is a public hearing. So if anyone would like to speak to the subject tonight, please go to the podium, state your name and address for the record. And being no one, I'm going to bring it back to council for direction.
I move that we accept the second reading and adoption of ordinance next number 2017, an ordinance adding chapter 4.24 electric vehicle charging station permitting procedures to Title IV, building regulations of the Newman Municipal, and authorizing staff to publish a summary of said ordinance.
Second that.
Second.
Okay, a motion has been made, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, 5 yes and 0 no.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. 10 is regular business. First reading and introduction of ordinance number 2017, next number, amending Title 10 Traffic Regulations, adding Section 10.04-050B2, parking restrictions on Hill Ferry Road in the 800 and 900 blocks. Chief, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Before you tonight is parking on Hills Ferry that we discussed at a previous council meeting. As you're aware, in the 800 and 900 block, currently there is no parking between the hours of 2 and 5 a.m. On the June 27th council meeting, a citizen came in and requested that the signs be removed. On the July 25th meeting, staff brought before you options, which you requested move forward with the permit parking, and that's where we're at tonight. So the ordinance, the vehicle parked on Hills Ferry be issued by the police department. They're required of hours between 12 a.m. and 5 a.m. Restricted parking signs be erected. Basically, we would take the no parking sign down, put up the permit parking signs. They would be issued, the homeowners would be issued a 2 by 3.5 inch window sticker, and it would cost the homeowner $25 per permit. And they're limited to 1 per household, and we're limiting the number of permits to 40. So we're limiting the number of cars that can park there between 12 a.m. and 5 a.m. to 40. The fiscal impact would be none because it would be offset by the permit fees. So therefore, staff recommends that council introduce by title and waive further reading of ordinance, providing the permit parking the 800 blocks of Hills Ferry Road. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I have a question. That fee that you talk about, is that a yearly fee? Yeah, I think you mentioned that at one of our meetings, past meetings.
It would be a one-time fee, and for that vehicle or whatever vehicle they're going to put it on. And if they wanted to, say they sold that vehicle, they would have to come in and get another permit for another vehicle. But it would be limited to once. They would have to prove that they no longer had that vehicle.
And that's limited to where they can just park only one car?
One car per household, up to 40 cars. So originally, we planned on the 13 that face Hills Ferry Road, but then city manager, advised, hey, there's people that are behind them that might want to utilize that parking also. So we're going to limit it to one per household within that unit. And we don't anticipate people from other areas of the neighborhood are going to park there, so during the nighttime hours.
So Chief, you're saying that the 40 parking would be only on Hills Ferry, or would be addition to other areas?
We're only talking about the 800 and 900 blocks of Hills Ferry.
On Hills, okay.
Yeah, Hills Ferry only. This would be permit parking between basically Sherman Parkway and Edinburgh.
Right. It's just a block, that one block.
It's a really long block. It's broken up into two, but it's really just one long block.
Yeah, okay, as long as it doesn't extend into where the park is at.
Sherman.
No, that would still remain in place, and the no truck parking would still remain in place. That's currently up.
And the reason for one permit is because the development itself has parking for 2 vehicles per household, is that correct?
Correct. In their garage
Yeah.
there, they have 2-car garages, and then there's also some additional parking. I don't know if you guys recall the parking plan
Right,
map
right.
from before. There's some additional parking throughout the complex for people to utilize.
So that one extra permit should be sufficient. That gives 3 parking places per residence, at least.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
If you want to come up and ask I don't know if we're.
No, go ahead. It's all right.
It's staff time. It's to recover the cost of keeping track of the paperwork, putting up the signs, the cost of the signage, the cost of the stickers. They don't have to buy the stickers. That's all included in the one-time permit fee.
Okay. Any other questions for the chief?
Yeah, I just want to say this, is I'm pretty sure that the residents are very happy with that because they've been having so many problems. And I really appreciate you following up and making sure that was expedited the way you've done it. Thanks so much, Chief.
Okay, being no further questions, we'll bring it back to the council for direction.
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading and introduction of ordinance number 2017, next number, amending Title 10 Traffic Regulations, adding Section 10.04.050, B2 parking restrictions on Hills Ferry Road in the 800 and 900 blocks.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, a motion's been made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, 5 yes and 0.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, we're moving on to item 11. Yeah, this is District 5 Stanislaus County Supervisor, Mr. Jim D. Martini. Welcome, Jim.
Good evening, Mayor Martina, members of the council. Just a few things tonight. It's actually been pretty quiet at the county here the last couple of weeks. I think when we passed our budget since the last time I've been here, it's $1.2 billion is the highest it's ever been. That includes everything, road construction and all. Anyway, our budget is balanced, and hopefully everything goes just fine this year. I would mention that the county this year is completely out of debt. We have no debt at all at the county in the general fund. Plus, we have pretty healthy reserves, too. So I hope that doesn't change. Today's meeting, we passed our CAPER, which is the block grants for the cities, and Newman was on the list. It was $137,000 for infrastructure projects that was passed today. Of course, we're in a consortium with Ceres and Patterson and Waterford, and I think Oakdale, too. But anyway, that did pass. The most difficult thing, we had a miserable meeting today having to deal with the marijuana ordinance, which I really found was very distasteful. But anyway, we're going to have another public hearing on December 10th. County is starting to do some regulation and taxes of these, that's what I call them criminal enterprises, and to limit some dispensaries and come up with some regulations for growing them. I really have a real problem with this, but anyway, you have an opinion about it. December 10th is our public hearing, as we're working on some type of ordinance. I don't think there's any member of the board who really wanted to deal with this today. And virtually all the public who had to come up and speak was all for it, of course. But to me, they're just criminal enterprises that we have to deal with Prop 64 that legalized possession and growing of marijuana. That's one way to, I was telling our chief earlier there, to get rid of crime is just legalize everything, and we have no more crime. So that's what Prop 64 was attempting to do, I guess. Anyway, we got through that, and we do have that public hearing on December 5th. As far as the task force, our art and essay contest is underway at the 3 school districts. The entries are due on November 4th, and then we will be judging them at Gustine City Hall on November 10th, and then they will get off to the printer, and we'll have the calendars ready by December 1st. Okay, and that's all I have this evening.
Thank you. Any questions for the supervisor tonight?
The environmental study for the Crow's Landing?
Still not done. You know, it's embarrassing, that's why I don't even bring it up. The county staff who now is blaming Patterson for the delay, I think there may be some truth to that, is not finished, it's not out on the street, and the last hang-up, which is actually a significant one, is whether or not the project can use Patterson's sewer system. I can give you, I don't know all the details of it, but what the county wants to do is buy capacity from Diablo Grande, which has already been paid for. Now, we will pay them for it. And Patterson's objected to and said, well, that is a residential project and yours is industrial, so I don't know. You know, the bathroom is a bathroom, it's still the same type of waste. So that is the hang up there. So they want to charge us, you know, just millions for the hookup to their sewer system. Even though I think their last project over there went in with no sewer fees at all, the restoration hardware, so I recall. So until that issue is resolved, that environmental impact report will not be released. And I'm going to have to sit down with Keith Boggs and then see, but this is very disappointing. The project, just the environmental impact report now is more than a year behind schedule. And we've spent a ton of money on this thing. We've analyzed everything you can imagine. But I believe this is the last hurdle. So county staff is blaming Patterson. I'm not going to do that today, but we definitely have an issue with the sewer capacity. So
Well,
I don't know when it's going to be released.
Yeah. Well, I know that from past projects I was associated with, is that especially in the Bay Area, when you have $50, $60 million that you earmarked for a project, your contractors will take that money and just set it for 5 years to build interest. And I'm thinking maybe, are they building interest with that money that's earmarked for that project?
I'm not sure I understand your question. Can you say that again?
The environmental study basically is the key to this project moving forward. There's X amount of dollars that are earmarked for this project, am I correct?
Yeah, 30 million.
Right. So it's just sitting there until the environmental study, are they building interest on that 30 million?
Yeah, it's in a county pool. We're getting less than 2%, but it is. It is part of our reserves, technically what it is. We have, actually the county's reserves are 187 million, but that includes that 30 million. So the sewer capacity is there. You know, it's Diablo Grande has paid for it. They will never need it. they're willing to sell it, we want to buy it, and then we're kind of, we're not at an impasse, but we're having trouble reaching agreement with Patterson on this.
Well,
I don't know all the details, but that's the hangup.
I guess the only reason why I bring it up is because I think that this particular project, once it's moved forward, is going to have a great impact on the west side of the county. And we stand here in Newman, Patterson, and all the surrounding cities on the west side to I don't want to use the word profit, but we're going to gain from this project.
Yeah, I think it'll be beneficial for all. I mean, these
Yes.
are industrial projects, it's not residential. It is on the footprint of the air base. It doesn't have any rail component. I think it's everything that would be acceptable to the city. But, you know, we have to have, even in industrial, some sewer and water service. Water will do what the well is, and as you know, industrial projects take very little water and very little sewer capacity. They're only for bathrooms, for the sewer capacity only. We don't want anything like a cannery there that uses a lot of water. And then the water would be for some landscaping and for the bathrooms, and that's it. You know, residential, you know, takes a lot of water and sewer capacity. Industrial projects don't. But anyway, that's the hang-up of it, and it's really embarrassing, really, that it's drug on this long, and it's, and plus the environmental impact report and all that stuff, it's just so California. It's really a wonder that anything gets built in this state, having to jump through all these hoops for a project that would just promote economic development and create jobs. But anyway, I'm going to sit down with Keith Boggs and see what can be done to move this project forward. If we ever get this thing out on the street, I'll get you that environmental impact report.
Yeah,
But as yet, it's held up because whatever changes that would have to come into the sewer capacity are going to change the report, and that's why it's not released.
Thank
Okay?
Thank you, Supervisor. And with that, we'll go to item 12, item from the city manager and staff.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Just a couple things. So I have to admit, I've been a little ornery lately with our senator's office, Canella, with respect to SB 1 and AB 135. You've seen a couple of my correspondences. Haven't forwarded them all to you just because there's been a little bit of dialogue back and forth. We've kind of bypassed that now and went straight to the CTC, and we're looking for an answer with respect to AB 135 and how that applies to SB 1 for those. I know we're talking a lot of acronyms. Basically, it's road tax money that Senator Canella helped pass. We get about $65,000 this year, and after that, we get about $180,000 a year. Problem is, they say you can't borrow money and then use that as a revenue stream to pay it back. You have to bank it for 5 years. To me, it doesn't make a big. What's the big difference between if I put 5 years of money, improvements up front and then pay it back, as opposed to saving it for 5 years? At least our residents get better roads for the 5 years. AB 135 came out and said that cities and counties can expend funds and then use the revenues from AB 1 to pay it back. Fortunately, they didn't say how long we could stretch that out. So again, we've reached out to California Transportation Commission to see if we can get a ruling on that. And we'll continue to work directly with their staff. And then if we need to bring in the big guns, we'll call Nubia.
Yeah.
She can flex a little muscle over there. On Thursday of this week, it's a big meeting for us. Army Corps of Engineers are going to be in town. They're working with our wetland specialist out at our Braza Road project. That's the 100-plus acres we purchased to do a biofilter to clean up city water, and you capture that water and then use it in our farming operation. So we're hoping to get an answer here. We're really proud of what we have drafted in terms of a proposal for them in terms of what that would look like, and we're hoping that they're going to see that when they come out there. So hopefully we'll report something back to you at your next meeting or one after that. That's good news from the Army Corps of Engineers. Worst case scenario, they require you to do a 404 permit and spend millions of dollars and make Jim's EIR look like, a small 10 by 12 building permit. But it's going to be a big project. If we have to get a 404, we'll probably just look to do something else with the project. And then lastly, soccer started. So a lot of kids out there. Some divisions have up to 10 teams. So games are starting as late as 1:30 now, where we used to be wrapped up around that time. So if you get a chance, stop by. I know they got low-cost hamburgers and hot dogs and sodas out there. So grab a burger and a dog, some nachos, and watch a game. And I can answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Chief, do you have anything for us tonight?
I do not, but I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you. Stephanie?
I think you've heard enough from me today. No additional questions.
Tell us how sound we are.
We're sound. We're doing pretty good. Just wanted to keep you advised, we are working with California State and with the CSU system to do an income survey here in town. Letters were mailed out today, so we should be getting those. All our residents should be receiving those next couple of days. And then on Friday, they're going to be mailing out the first of the income surveys. A while back, on the last census that was done, the city was declared no longer a disadvantaged community, and we believe that wasn't correct. The statistics that they provided had a huge variance on the income number, which meant they didn't survey that many people. So we've worked with the state, and the state's paying for all this income survey, but just want to keep everybody advised that you should be getting those next few days and go ahead and fill them out and send them in.
Thank you very much. Chief, we have anything tonight?
Nothing really. We have been working with the county on an EMS strategic plan. This is pretty much the future of EMS for our county. We're in phase 2 of that process where they're interviewing the stakeholders. So I did have an interview with the county today about that and just kind of projected what I thought the future of EMS would look like. So if you guys have any thoughts on that, I'd be willing to look into it and pass it forward.
No.
Other than that.
Just thank you for keeping us informed. I mean, I don't think any council could be any better informed than this one with all the information you provide to us, but thank you.
No problem.
It's greatly appreciated.
You still have openings in your CPR class?
Those fill up quick, so if anyone wants to become an instructor, I could take more students, but as of right now, we can take 9 students, so I think I got 3 more openings. Fills up real quick.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Good.
It's
Good.
Casey, anything tonight?
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Measure S, definitely support that. Thank you guys for coming and giving your little spiel on that. Mike, thank you for following up and keeping on the AB 35, 135 stuff. That's really important to us. That's about all I have tonight.
Yeah. First of all, I want to thank Mary. I think your last name is Lopez? I'm sorry. Art. For coming out and voicing your concern. And don't make this your last time. If there's any concerns that you have as a resident, here in the city of Newman, please, and even your neighbors that might have some concerns in reference to any ordinance or any problems that you might have, come address the city council and let us know about it. And you do have a voice as a resident of this city of Newman, and we want you or welcome you here anytime that you need to come and address any type of issue. And thank you so much for coming out. That's all I have.
Thank you. Ernie?
Just a couple of items. I've had at least one young person here in the community indicate that they're quite disturbed over the fact that a lot of school students after school seem to be just going in and getting sodas and whatever in these styrofoam cups and then just dumping them on the streets when they're done with them. The question that this student asked was, is it possible to put more trash cans out? The question I would have is it possible that the 2x2, when you meet with the school district, bring this to the attention of the school district and encourage everyone in our community, not just the students, but everyone in our community, help keep our town clean and neat. Second item is that I encountered about 10 elementary school students in the plaza earlier this week, or end of last week, climbing on the trees. They were getting on the back of the bench and jumping up and grabbing a hold of the branches to the trees. So we need to, again, bring that to the school district's attention and bring to the community's attention that the plaza and all of these things in our community are there for the enjoyment of everyone. They're not toys to be played on. We have a skate park, we have a number of parks in the community that have playground-type equipment on them that the children are more than happy to go and play on. And so we would ask that everyone in our community do their best to help keep our community neat and clean and looking like the gem in the valley that it is. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to thank the library for coming out tonight.
Well, you're not going to talk to me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, he is
Oh, I'm
back.
sorry. I take that back. Nick, go ahead. I'm sorry. I apologize.
No comment.
I apologize. You can go ahead and say what I said.
I don't know what you're gonna say.
Go ahead.
Anyway, thanks everybody for coming out tonight. It's actually nice to have people in the audience.
Yeah,
You're usually pretty lonely here, you know, but you can come sit front.
Yeah.
This isn't church.
And don't forget to support the football team too.
Yeah. Anyway, I of course, I gotta apologize for Nick for doing that. And that's not the right thing to do because Nick has a lot of important things today and I don't have much to say. But I would like to thank the library. We know the importance of the library, so everyone get behind Measure S, you know. If you don't have a sign in your front yard, I'm sure that Debbie has some extras that she's willing to put in your yard. Anyway, it's so important, so this town wouldn't be a town without a library, remember that. So anyway, thanks everyone for coming out, and it's, like they say, it's great to see faces. Get up closer, I mean. But anyway, thank you so much. And with that, I'm going to ask for a...
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.
I saw our Nick.
Who seconded?